different.
So does the government have to kind of approve all this, or just kind of keep an eye over it?
They do, and actually, if you can imagine, when we were just trying to get the government in premature, they said that would be 2 tons of rice, and we were like, well, what do you mean 2 tons of rice? And they said, well, 1 ton of rice equals X dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And we said, you're not serious. You know, we're doing something for this country, and we're going to have to pay you to say that it's okay what we're doing. So, you know, that just should give you some idea of.
And did you carry the ton of rice yourself, or?
I didn't personally make the decision about what we did. I think we did do something, and we said, okay, this is a one-time only, and don't ask again, please.
But you really have to, you know, it is a huge thing to go to another country and to, you know, take responsibility for helping the culture that's already there thrive from this distance.
Right.
So are you doing this are you interested in doing this with other countries? Are you?
Well, there's just so much to do there. I mean, in addition to the Center for Khmer Studies, I have a friend who's adopted 15 villages, which, you know, I don't know, there must be she must be responsible for 10 or 15,000 people. And these people were living at such a subhuman existence level. I mean, they didn't know basic hygiene, they didn't have drinkable water, they didn't know best agricultural practices, they knew nothing. So for about 5 years, she just worked on just establishing a kind of basic routine of living for these people, and so that they could support themselves. And then after a while, for some reason, she thought to have a dance performance for them, and the children were so enthralled by it that they asked her if they could have a school. So she started a dance academy, and they're now 107. In the film, they're the first 5 little girls from that academy that C goes to visit when he's in Cambodia, and now there are 175 children, and they're now starting to train musicians and so forth. And and you can't believe the level of excellence of these children. I mean, it's just, they're so committed. They go every day for half a day for training.
I think we kind of have gotten to the point in this country where, for whatever reasons, politically or whatever, that there's this sense that somehow culture is not that important. It's something that you kind of is an afterthought, but it seems like that you've invested in and made it, you know, this great effort in your life and gotten results from the idea that culture actually brings more to people's lives than just, you know, going to the ballet.
Well, for example, with these children, I mean, this is on a very basic level, but my friend told me that what's been very touching to her is that it's not only, I mean, the dancers all have to be, you know, perfectly groomed, properly presented, dressed well, and all of that. And she said suddenly the families who have children that are trained as dancers, they start carrying themselves differently. They have a great deal of pride, and it has this kind of ripple effect, and the discipline that comes with it and all of that. So it's been a really beautiful thing to watch there. And I think in this country, it's very short-sighted of whoever's making these decisions. I mean, of course, there is a finite amount of funds to go here and there, so of course it's a very difficult thing to decide. But I mean, when I was in school, when you were in school probably, I mean, everybody in public school had music classes and art classes, and you went on tours to museums and you did that. And I don't think that that's happening anymore. I mean, there are now private initiatives that take art into the public schools, which seems unthinkable to me. I mean, the creative process is part of just creative thinking. And I just think that it's something that every child should have the opportunity to be part of.
When did you first get interested in ballet?
I think I became interested in ballet when I was, like most little girls in this country, when I was 8 years old and started taking ballet lessons.
Did you want to be a prima ballerina? Or?
No, I don't think I ever wanted to be. Well, I probably had, what I did want to be was a professional ice skater, if you can imagine. At the time, I was taking ballet to kind of enhance my ice skating. And not that I had ever gotten to any great level, but it was just a little girls, like little boys want to be a fireman. I think I wanted to be Sonia Henney or something like that. But then I did study ballet until I went to university, and then I took contemporary dance, and then I quit. And then when my little girls started studying ballet, I started going to adult classes again, and I still take a ballet class every day. I really completely passionate about it.
So when you travel, like you're doing for this film, do you find
I
classes in other cities?
I haven't had any time since I got to Los Angeles, I must say, but I normally travel with a pair of ballet slippers, my iPod, and I give myself a class, and I also do Pilates, and there's something called a magic circle, and I bring that along for just to keep from completely falling apart. Too.
And as you travel around the country, do you find ballet groups in different cities that are, you may not have found already, or that you
Well, it's really
know
fun
what
for
the-
this film because we're really, at every city, we're making an effort to, I mean, like, for example, today we just went to see the Los Angeles Ballet, and the director is a good friend of mine who I've known since she was a dancer at New York City Ballet.
Mhm.
And she has a wonderful group of young dancers. And I was actually just there before I came here, and we saw there's a choreographer who was working on, a program that's coming up. She's using 4 young choreographers from Los Angeles to do very contemporary pieces for her ballet company, and I think that's going to be great. Now, you see, I wouldn't have known about that if I weren't here. I would have been in New York worrying about what was going on, there. So it's been really fun.
Do you see it differently now that you have all these different layers of perspective, or did you have them in your circumstances before you ended up finding
because
City?
I've always been involved at a very basic
Sorry.
level
Mhm.
in ballet because I was on the board of the School of American Ballet, which is the kind of premier training academy for ballet in the United States. It's the school for the New York City Ballet that George Balanchine started. And we have dancers that come from all over the country there. So, I would actually sometimes I would even go to auditions in different parts of the country. And then the worry is once the children are trained, they have to go to. So I'm aware of all the different countries, companies around the country, and I've been involved in when I lived in Fort Worth for primarily most of the time. I had I started a ballet school, which later became. The person who started that school later took over the Fort Worth Ballet, and so I was involved in a pretty basic level there.
So is the future of the arts, and particularly ballet, little girls who love to dance? Is that why it continues to survive when other things seem to be falling by the wayside?
It is interesting that most parents seem to think it's important for their little girls to go take ballet classes. I don't know. I think, it's just, I think and by the way, little boys like this too. I watch. I have my daughters I have 2 daughters, and they have sons, and so I see them, and they love to move too. But even though my daughters were trained in ballet, their first thought isn't to send them to a ballet class. They think of sending them to karate or gym, something like that. But I hope one of the things that this film will do is let people rethink the idea that boys don't dance. I mean, boys, of course, do dance. It's just that in certain parts of the country, there, for every 40 girls, there are 2 boys. Whereas in New York, there's a very, large training program for boys.
Which do they have a hard time finding the boys, or do they go out recruiting for boys, or
well, actually,
is it just that they know?
The School of American Ballet started going into the some of the poor public schools in the country and auditioning students, and so yes, they have it. They definitely have an outreach to find boys.
And so, do you wake up every day thinking of dance and of the arts and all of that? Is that your kind of the thing that gets you driven to get
I'm
through
pretty
each day?
passionate about dance, and it does. It's something I look forward to every day. That's for sure. But it's not my only interest. I mean, I'm very passionate about gardening and many other things too.
So, is there another thing, the next thing that you might want to do, to embrace, to further your love of the arts and your way of offering them to the rest of the world?
Well, one thing that I doubt that I will actually make this into a film, but I'm completely riveted by this group I was discussing in Cambodia. I go every year, and I always go to visit this school, and I've helped sponsor like several of the children there. But I just think that it's just so moving, their story, to just see people at the most, basic level of human existence, and how hungry their souls are for art, basically, and how much they've embraced it and how well they've done. And so I take my video camera and I always film them, and I've gone into their homes a little bit because I wish I had all of this of Steve when I wish I'd had that for the film, his childhood. It would have made the film, it would have given it more depth, I suppose, if I had had that material.
Well, as you found you've shown the movie, that people having a human being to focus on, and that life experience is always, it moves people in a different way. They kind of lose the big blur of entertainment and actually get down to what's really important about it, I guess.
Right, that this is a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.